Let's move on to the matchup of the week then, Phoebe. Two teams I think are really interesting place right now where they both want to be considered contenders, Super Bowl contenders, but they haven't necessarily shown that so far. The San Francisco 49ers versus the Dallas Cowboys. I'll go straight into it. Season over for whoever loses.
Ooh. I mean, I guess the season almost feels like it's over for these teams in a lot of ways anyways. The 49ers haven't been able to put consecutive back-to-back wins, again, just coming off of a loss last weekend against the Chiefs. And then the Cowboys, who really got decimated by the Lions in a historic loss, again at home. They're off a bye week. You hope McCarthy is able to pull something together to find a solution. Again, we talk about the trade deadline, but they've got no defensive line. You're hoping Micah Parsons is back, Dexter Lawrence, guys like that who can make a really big difference. But if we're really looking at it, they're 0-3 at home. They're 3-0 on the road. And you're almost just hoping that a road game will help them inject some life into them.
And they've been decimated multiple times, actually, the Dallas Cowboys this season as well. And they're a team, and we've spoken about this on the rundown before, they're a team that are in that position where it's almost, this is it this season. For a lot of the players, a lot of the coaching staff as well, potentially. I mean, we have spoken about it before. The San Francisco 49ers, they're in a spot as well where they've already got a losing record. This is unprecedented in the Kyle Shanahan era, especially the Brock Purdy era, really, for the San Francisco 49ers. Are we just thinking, well, that's that then for the Super Bowl? Are we thinking that they're even contenders, either of them, anyway?
I don't know if they were considered. I don't think the Cowboys were considered contenders coming into the season. I think you look at what happened in the offseason, which wasn't much, right? In terms of they were one of the teams that did the least in terms of offseason transactions. Then you look at the fact that, literally right before their first game of the season, they paid Dak all this money. So now you've got Dak and CeeDee Lamb, who have the highest paid on that team, but there's no other supporting cast. And you're paying people who have almost reached their ceiling. Dak last year had pretty much an MVP level season. CeeDee Lamb is, if I'm being honest, not looking as you would expect your number one receiver to look. I saw some of the routes that he was running against the Lions, and they just weren't crisp or sharp. And you think if you're that guy, you're getting paid to get those first downs, you really have to be firing on all cylinders. And I don't feel that from him. And it doesn't help. You don't have a run game. And defensively, you really don't have a run defense whatsoever. So you've got all these issues going on with them. Brandon Aubrey is the best thing about your team, ultimately, in terms of the kicker. And then you look at the 49ers.
State of affairs, though, I love kicking, but if your best player is a kicker, then that's not a good position to be in.
Not at all, but he is.
He's great. He's great. Brandon Aubrey, great player. I'm not saying otherwise, but at the same time, you want to be confident in your offensive pieces, and I don't feel like Dallas Cowboys fans are right now. Well, San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan not happy with how his quarterback played in the last game. Brock Purdy, who hasn't been playing badly actually this season, but there were some really questionable interceptions, questionable throws from Brock Purdy in that loss against the Kansas City Chiefs. Must win for them. What happens if they don't?
Yeah, and I think just to kind of look at the last game in particular, Purdy did struggle, right? They were sending pressure. Steve Spagnuolo is always going to find a way to get after you. I felt like the first half of the game was stagnant, ultimately, from a play calling perspective. And then you go to the second half, and you start to see some of that life that Shanahan brings to the table, the motions, the naked boots, the throwbacks, things like that. That's what helps Purdy. At the moment, he's having to throw into such tight windows that his decision-making has to be absolutely spot on, and he has to be throwing with anticipation. You look at this matchup, they have the opportunity to run the ball. Jordan Mason got stuffed quite a lot last weekend, so their running game wasn't the same. They're saying maybe CMC after the bye week, but you don't want to be just waiting on that. Who's going to be healthy coming into this game? And you could genuinely see the frustration on Shanahan's face.
I think this is going to be the season. Unless something changes, this is going to be the season where we look back at the San Francisco 49ers and we think, well, no Brandon Ayuk for the majority of it. We don't know how Deebo Samuel is going to be. You mentioned Juwan Jennings earlier on, Christian McCaffrey. Even Jordan Mason was doubtful for the last game, pulled through. This is a decimated team in terms of players.
They're tired, genuinely. Yeah. Look at look at what they had to go through last year, right? You make it to the Super Bowl, you have the 7th longest game in Super Bowl history. It gives you a short season. So not only have you played a ton of football, now you've got this smaller window to have to work through, and then you have to go fire it all up again. I mean, no wonder they're injured and tired, and you almost just think, can they do it again? And at the moment, it doesn't feel like it. We know things can change, but they've got to get healthy. Both these teams have to get healthy if they want to even have a chance at being successful and making it to the playoffs.
I just want a quick shout out to another matchup that I think would have been particularly interesting, but it looks like Jaden Daniels, the Washington Commanders quarterback, he has a rib injury, so it doesn't look like he's going to be able to play, but I would have Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick, versus Jaden Daniels, the rookie quarterback who's been playing so well in the Bears and the Commanders. That would have been tasty to me.